All right, y'all. Little slow at work this week. Jeffrey put out some great content, so I figured I would add to that. I am going to go over everyone's draft, not their current teams, and then go over my rankings of how I had them week one. I know Jeff did a lot of analysis on it and accused me and Brennan of being biased, but I was being completely truthful. Didn't talk to Brennan at all. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So for week one rankings, I had Brennan first, I had William second. I think William maybe has the best team, but I liked Brennan's draft the most. He drafted a lot of players I'm very high on. So those two are kind of interchangeable. I had Bobby third, Jeff fourth, Ethan fifth, Blaine sixth, Strat seventh, Dylan eighth, and Jordy ninth. I kind of am regretting towards the bottom a little bit. I think I should have flipped Strat and Dylan and had Dylan seventh and Strat eighth. But regardless, it was quick. I didn't do a deep analysis on everybody's team, so we are going to do that now by their draft order. So this will be uploaded. We're going to share the draft results, starting with, let's get this shit out of here. Starting with the team I ranked number one, let's go with Brennan. I think McCaffrey. McCaffrey is always going to be a freak, almost guaranteed to be a top three, probably top two or top one running back if he is healthy. And that's all we have to go off right now. I know he's dealing with some stuff in training camp. The 49ers don't like to disclose a lot about their injuries, so we'll see how that goes. Derrick Henry, another great pick. In regular rankings, people have him a lot lower, but we are in half PPR league. And I don't think there are many people that are more likely to get 10 touchdowns than Derrick Henry this year. Devonta Smith, this was a player Brennan reached for. I had really high on my board. I was really hoping he would fall back to me over here, but that was never going to happen. The injury scares me a little bit, but I still think a great pick nonetheless, even though a little bit of a reach. I would have preferred him. Maybe Pickens and Nico are in the same tier as him, maybe Neighbors, depending on his health, but all the other receivers, I would have had him over. Agbuka, again, another person I really loved. Mike Evans is gone. Baker's in a contract year. He is also struggling with that turf toe, so that's why he kind of fell off the board for me. But I still think a great pick if that toe is not an issue. Tootin should be the lead back in Jacksonville. Might lose some goal line and receiving work to Chris Rodriguez, but Liam Cohen offense, get a running back in the fifth round. I think it's a great pick. Devontae Adams, again, he had like 16 touchdowns last year, 14 touchdowns. I think that probably comes down a little bit, but still good case for double-digit touchdowns. He did not have like 900 yards last year, probably be around the 900 yard mark again this year, and will be a good pick there. Next, we have JMO. I don't love JMO. I think he is a valuable player in certain weeks, but I don't trust myself to know when to start him and when to sit him. So he was off the board for me, but not a bad pick. DK Metcalf, we knew Brennan was taking him. He's whatever, bye week fill in, injury fill in. Should have a decent floor. Michael Pittman's there, so we'll see. But no problem there. Dak Prescott, high volume, got him late as like the QB9, I think. Herbert was QB7, QB8, so QB9, great value there. Kyle Pitts, I mean, if you take away his one big week last year, he dropped from like tight end 2 to tight end 12. But for a late round tight end, I think he's fine, especially with Kelsey going right after him. I'd rather him over Kelsey, maybe. It's close. Definitely higher ceiling than Kelsey. Debo, Mike Evans is hurt. Debo knows the system. They like to manufacture touches for him. We'll see. Matthew Golden should be playing in two receiver sets for Green Bay, with Jaden Reed playing the slot. So the opportunity is there. I fear he is a bit of a vertical route merchant. So he could have some high volatility. But if he hits on those big plays, you know, he could hit. Matt Stafford, former MVP, nice pairing with Dak Prescott. Either one of them, I feel you're comfortable starting any given week. Just depends if you start the right one on the right week, and they both should have pretty high floors. I had Brennan as team number one, really, because I thought he started really strong with his first five draft picks. Has some pretty good flexes here in the middle rounds, and then quarterback won't be a huge liability for him. Tight end is kind of a question mark, but we'll see. Next, I had William. William, I was debating taking AJ Brown instead of Bowers here. I was afraid that if I didn't take Bowers, he wouldn't come back to me. But with Josh Allen there, I probably should have assumed you were taking him. Not sure. Definitely, you're not going Powers and Josh Allen here, so I would have gotten one of them to fall. I did really want AJ Brown, but you took him from me. I think that's a great pick. Josh Allen, always a great pick, especially to get him in the third, when in the past 4 years he's been going in the second. Zay Flowers, he's going to get a bunch of yards, should get a decent amount of catches. They don't really have a wide receiver too because Bateman just got arrested or whatever. And then they have two rookies coming in who have some promise, but Zay Flowers will get the majority of the targets and yardage. Just the touchdown upside's a little limited for me, but you have kind of the opposite with Higgins, who's probably not a big catch number guy, probably not a big target guy. He will have his games, but should have good opportunities for a touchdown, as the Bengals love throwing the ball in the red zone. Travion, I actually hate this pick. I think Ramondre's still the one. Travion's the better player, but they will see a bunch of splits. Um, this was actually probably one of my least favorite picks of the entire draft that wasn't by a Jordy team. Jadarian Price, I think, will be a great flex for the first 8 weeks of the season until Sharp comes back. Um, Godwin, I love. Agbuka dealing with the injury. Don't really have a wide receiver two there to help them compete. They have a rookie. They have Jalen McMillan, who will get some touches, but I think Godwin, hint, hint, he is part of one of my bold predictions. Can he stay healthy? Does he still have the juice? I don't know. We'll see. But I think he's really high floor with a potential ceiling as well. Dowdle, we got a committee running back here. I do like Warren a bit more, but I think they'll split probably 50-50. And Dowdle, I think, will probably have more end zone carries, whereas Warren has more catches. But we'll see how that shakes out. QJ, I view very similar to JMO on Brennan's team. You just got to start him the right week. High ceiling, low floor. He could get you a 0. He could get you a 24. So if you ride that right, it could work. Kincaid, I do like. I think he's been taking some snaps on the perimeter, or sorry, out of the slot, so not lined up. And I think he will be very helpful to this offense. DJ Moore's good, but not great. Josh Allen just throws the ball to whoever's open. So I think a value at tight end this late. Kenneth Gainwell. We'll see. I'm not really too sure how I feel about getting one of these committee running backs. He should see some good receptions, but I don't know how many touchdowns he'll get, and should be a decent flex play if you need him. And then Ferguson to help just bolster out that tight end room. High passing offense should be fine. Next, we have Bobby. Started with JSN. I personally would have gone Amon-Ra here, but great pick nonetheless. Chase Brown at the turn, I think, is great. He should get a ton of usage and a good amount of touchdowns. Kyron, we'll see how much Blake Corum eats into his workload, but still should be a lock for 10 touchdowns if he stays healthy. Jacobs, looming suspension. I think the Packers will be under center more, using more play action. And so we'll see how his touchdown upside is. Bucky Irving, I don't love. I think Sean Tucker might take some goal line. But if he's healthy and can be where he is last year, he's a real value right here. Garrett Wilson, I think, might actually be one of the steals of the draft. He's going to get 15 targets a game. He might only have 4 touchdowns, but he will be a really high floor player with chances for those boom weeks. Marv, post-hype sleeper. We'll see. They're going to have a terrible offense. They're like double-digit underdogs in like 10 of their first 14 games, so they will have to pass a lot. I just think McBride's the guy there, so he might be hard to decide when to start. Sutton, I'm a little bit wary of Sutton. They did lead the league in pass attempts last year, but he might be the wide receiver 3 on the team. There's been a lot of Pat Bryant hype, and they just traded for Waddle, so we will see. We know the running backs like to get involved in the passing game under Sean Payton. Chuba, he's hurt right now. He got overtaken by Rico Dowdle last year, so that's why I took Jonathan Brooks ahead of him. Committee running back. Not my biggest love. He should be a capable flex for the first half of the year, but we'll see how that works. Trav, again, pretty similar with Kyle Pitts. I think this is a fine range to be taking him. Diggs, Washington needs somebody to catch the ball. Terry was running only vertical routes last year and was only lined up on the left. I think that changes without Cliff Kingsbury. Diggs is a little bit older, perhaps a little bit washed, but we'll see. He does have some touchdown potential. Is good in the red zone, safe hands. Jaden Reed, slot player for Green Bay, should have a pretty decent floor, depending on how the personnel shakes out. But I don't mind taking a flyer on him late. And then Bo Nix. Bo Nix actually has done really well. He was like QB7 and QB6 in his past 2 years, and you got him late in the 13th. I think he'll be fine. Maybe would have preferred to grab a quarterback earlier and instead of one of these two picks, but I think fine nonetheless. Next, we have Jeffrey, Jamar, and Hampton. I'm a big fan of both of those. Drake London, I don't love, but Jeffrey got him at a pretty good value here in the third round. Jeremiah Love will see the injury concerns in the split with Algier. Um, Again, I think a really good value here getting him at the back of the fourth. It's just can the offense get moving and how much work is he actually going to get? Then we see Loveland. I think this is a great pick. I think he's basically a lock to be a top five tight end. Could be as high as two or three. They really relied on him down the stretch last year and in the playoffs. He was a target monster, and I think he could be in contention for top two or three at the position in targets. Hurts, they're wanting to put him under center a bit more after he's kind of a shotgun merchant. They got him some new receiving weapons after AJ Brown left. Kind of need the tush push to hit here, getting him as the QB4. But I think he is well within that top six quarterback range. Mike Evans, his hamstrings are made of glass and he's practicing next to an electrical substation. So that's a big concern. But if he plays, he's guaranteed 1,000 yards if he plays the full season and should see 8 to 12 touchdowns. Tony Pollard, Tennessee running back. I mean, it's whatever. He should see volume. They have a rookie that they like there. That Strat drafted, I think, Nick Singleton. Just touchdown upside's not really there. Maybe he breaks a few runs. Dobbins, I think, will be great for the games that he plays. But again, how many games is he going to play? Who knows? Alec Pierce, again, another injured player. Jeffrey really went all in on the injured and injury prone players this year, getting them out of value. We'll see if that works out. Alec Pierce, they did pay him a bunch, and he will be lining up on the outside and being all two receiver sets. I think Keenan Allen coming in is a bit cause for concern. Monangai, backup running back for the Bears, he was pretty good last year as they like that 1-2 punch, but again, he's injured coming into the year, so we'll see. Michael Pittman, I really don't know who's going to do better between him and DK, but he had over 100 targets last year with the Colts. The A dot for Aaron Rodgers is not great, so we'll see if he has that big playability, but should have a pretty high floor. And then Mahomes, just to kind of bolster out that quarterback room, play the matchups. I think you're going to play Hurts basically every week. But Mahomes will be great for bye week fill-in, or if Hurts has to play really tough defense, Texans, Broncos, Rams, you could default to Mahomes. So don't hate that. Next, we have Ethan. Don't love Jonathan Taylor. I think the Colts had the dream start last year. He was in MVP contention. It's hard to see them doing that well this year, but Jonathan Taylor in games that they win is really, really good. In games that they don't win is really not so great. So hopefully for Ethan, the Colts are able to win some games this year. Achan, he was kind of a full fade for me. He's going to get a billion touches and a billion catches. Will he get the touchdowns? I don't know. I don't expect Miami's offense to be too good, and I think he's been injured in the past. I think there's a chance with his usage last year and this year he does get injured again. McBride, maybe a little early for my liking, but right around ADP. He should see a fuck ton of targets. They might be 0-8 and Carson Beck comes in and then we don't know what happens. So I like it, not great. Lamar Jackson, Ethan has to go early quarterback. We just know that that's the way it is. He's got to rely on early quarterback. We'll see how Lamar does with this new offense and these new receivers. I think his rushing ceiling is really capped because they love to use Derrick Henry on the goal line, but should still be a top 5 QB, and you got him at QB3 with a chance of being QB1 or 2. Terry McLaurin, I was really big on Terry before the Stephon Diggs signing. Um, I think that eats into it a little bit, but if Jaden comes back and does what he did his rookie year, and he stops running only those vertical routes on the left-hand side like he was with Cliff, I think he'll be a great player. DJ Moore, it's always nice having a piece of the Bills offense. I think he's a bit washed, not a big touchdown guy, but should have a pretty decent floor on a week-to-week basis. Rome Odunze, I actually really like this. I know there's a bunch of hype on Luther Burden, but Rome was like a top 10 wide receiver before he hurt his foot last year. He's a top 10 pick. He's part of a good offense. I think this is a real value in the seventh round, and you'll have an every week starter out of your seventh round pick, which is great to guarantee as long as that foot's not still bothering him, which all reports are saying that it's not. Ramondre RB1 in New England, again they'll split. He should get decent touchdown numbers and decent carry numbers. Maybe not a ton of receiving work, but we'll be fine. Jordan Tyson, I was really big on Jordan Tyson before the injury. You got to hold on to him for 2 months before he does anything for you, and then probably takes another month to ramp up from there. So if you hold on to him, you could have a big asset for the end of the season and the playoffs. We'll see. Kai Lemon, another rookie, two straight rookies back to back. He's also injured. I don't love this. I think he'll probably be their wide receiver 3 and has missed training camp and will miss at least a couple weeks, I think, of the season. So it'll take him a while to ramp up too, but these two could be monsters if you wait them out. And then T-Law. I actually really like T-Law. Liam Cohen's offense loves getting the rushing yards out of the running back. He had a bunch of tush pushes and like 7 rushing touchdowns last year. And he has a bunch of great weapons at receiver, so his passing numbers could be good. Xavier Worthy, you might as well have just not drafted anyone. And then Zach Charbonnet, when he comes back, Ethan's got 3 players that when they come back could be very helpful, but are doing nothing for him the first month or 2 of the season. Next, we have Blaine, CD, and Genty. I think this is a great start. I maybe would have taken Jefferson or Barkley over CD, but whatever. CD might not be the wide receiver 1 on his team, but the passing volume's so high it won't matter. Genty sucks he got injured. We'll see actually how bad it is. There's conflicting reports. They don't have to release any specific injury designation for at least another couple days, so we'll see. But shouldn't be too bad. Might just get off to a slow start because of this injury. Same with Neighbors. I mean, he's supposed to be good week 1. We'll see if he's 100%. We'll see the production dip. I actually hate the Giants offense. They just hired, who's that bum that was at the Bears for forever, their offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy. And at the Chiefs, he ruined the Chiefs, sucked at the Bears. I don't expect much out of their offense, but Neighbors is a freak, so we'll see. Breece Hall, a lot of volume, maybe not a lot of touchdowns. I think this is fine where he is. He'll be a startable RB2 every week. Ted McMillan, don't love it. We'll see the passing game if Bryce Young takes a step, but he should be the lead targeter there with over 120 targets. Maybe not many touchdown upside, but should be a decent floor. Warren, I do like Warren as well. I think he has a chance to be the leading receiver for the Colts. I know he has a bit of an injury designation going into the season. We'll see how much that affects his ramp up time. But I do like him as a top 4 tight end. Carnell Tate, I think this is a good pick. If the Titans offense, it's a big if, can take a big step forward, I think him and Wandale will be really helpful to Cam Ward. And we could see both of them near 1,000 yards. But again, big if with the Titans offense. Brian Thomas, I have a little bit of concern about. There's just too many mouths to feed there. There's rumors that him and he's splitting reps with the second team. I think Parker Washington's probably the guy there. They just have too many mouths and like to run the ball, like to use their running backs on receiving games. So we'll see. Dart, again, same problem with Neighbors. He also gets injured every game with a concussion. So we'll see. Don't love the offense. We also have Brandon Aubrey and the Texans. I think arguably the best kicker and arguably the best defense. You just took them in the 10th and 11th round. I mean, could have gotten decent players there. We had Diggs, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Debo Samuel, Casey Concepcion all go around this area. Could have gotten some real value there, but whatever. Algier, we'll see. I think he'll get some solid touches. Is it enough to be startable in a bad offense? I don't know. Jacoby Myers going double up on the Jags. I think one of them will be serviceable, but neither of them will be great. And then Jonah Coleman, I think is great when J.K. Dobbins gets hurt. Maybe have Blaine team a little bit too high in my rankings. I guess I have him sixth, and I don't really like the three teams behind him, but it's whatever. Next, we have Strat in our rankings. Where did Strat draft from? Strat's right here. Love Amon-Ra in the first. Love Saquon in the second. Great value on Nico in the third. Jaden Higgins just went down. They just got Kayshon Boutte, so I think Nico's going to be even more solid as the one. A lot of people are hating on CJ Stroud. I think that the playoff game is giving him more hate than is deserved, and Nico will be fine. He just isn't really a big touchdown guy. I don't think he's ever had more than 8 touchdowns. So his ceiling at the end of the season is maybe a little capped, but week to week, I think he'll be fine. Drake made the schedule. I think he's going to take a step back this year, and to draft him so high when you could have gotten him back around and maybe even later over here, I just don't love the pick. And then Travis Etienne, not Achan. I'm not doing all that bullshit. Um, I think it's fine. He should see a good bit of work in New Orleans. I think Kamara is going to take some of the receiving work, and we'll see how the offense moves through Shuck and Chris Olave. Now that Tyson's injured, I just think their offense is going to be as good as a lot of the Saints fans in here are expecting, but should be a decent RB2 nonetheless, maybe a bottom end RB2. Burden in Washington, these are two guys that a lot of the fantasy community are really high on, and I don't hate taking these shots. I kind of was off Burden because I thought he wasn't going at much of a value. He had a little bit too much price on him, but Parker Washington I do really like. I know Strat loves Parker Washington. I traded him Parker Washington in Dynasty this past year for Brian Thomas. So kind of knew this pick was going to happen. I think it's great to have as your fourth wide receiver. Harold Fannin, I mean, we'll see. I don't believe in Deshaun Watson. I think it's better if Shadur comes in. So he might start the year crappy, but we'll see. Jordan Mason, I was a big believer in last year. I just think neither him nor Aaron Jones are that good. And they are going to be splitting time in an offense I don't expect to be great. Their defense keeps them in a lot of games. So I do think they will get some work running the ball, but I just think his upside's a little bit capped. Michael Wilson, I kind of love the dart throw. I mean, he could be a nothing burger. He could be awesome. We saw it last year. He was really, really good. Um, can that be repeatable? And then again, the same Carson Beck issue as we had with Trey McBride. Early kicker, early defense again, whatever. It's fine. Um, Seahawks defense is really good. Jason Myers is really good. Tying yourself to two Super Bowl winners. Bit early, but whatever. Romeo Doubs, I love the late round shout. Should be in line for a good bit of targets to be the number two behind AJ Brown. And then Jacoby Lane, I think will be lining up in two receiver sets for the Ravens. How many targets does he get? I don't know. We'll see what that looks like. But I don't think he's that much worse than Zay Flowers as a player. So again, touchdown upside is a little bit limited because they love using Derrick Henry in the red zone. And then Singleton, just hope he pans out later in the year. Not a bad last round flyer. Dylan, we have James Cook and Justin Jefferson. I do think James Cook takes a bit of a step back from where he was last year, but still should be a top 8 running back. Justin Jefferson, again, we'll see with the quarterback situation. I think Kyler's good. I think Kevin O'Connell's good. Not great, but we'll see how that works out to get him as the wide receiver 6. I think it's a little bit heavy of a price based off how he did last year. Pickens should see good volume. Not my favorite pick here. He was kind of in contention here with Rashee Rice, but I don't really want the wide receiver 2 on his team. And I think he's a good player. We'll just see how that defense holds up and how much they need to pass. Olave, fantasy community, again, is really big on Olave. Not my favorite. He leaves every game with a concussion or a hamstring. He was healthy all of last year and was the only wide receiver on the team last year, so he had really good numbers. Do we believe in Chuck after his really easy schedule for 6 games last year? Maybe. I know Saints fans are more than others, but we'll see. Waddle, not my favorite either. I think he will be a higher floor player, but we do know that the Broncos love to spread it out. I don't think they'll lead the league in passing attempts again this year. Their defense is really good, so they won't need to. I think this is a fine pick for a wide receiver 2. You get him as your wide receiver 4. So he will be in one of those flex spots. Like it, don't love it. Joe Burrow, if he can stay healthy, I think he'll be good. He doesn't have much rushing upside. Got him as the QB five, or four. I don't think it's great. I He just has to throw for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns to return that because he has no rushing. Jalen Warren already kind of talked about the Pittsburgh backfield. We'll see. Should be fine. Playable RB if James Cook's on bye or hurt, whatever. Blake Corum and RJ Harvey, these guys are backups. That's just what they are. RJ Harvey will get a bit more receiving work. Corum might get some touchdowns and a bit more running work, but I don't think you're going to want to start either of them if you don't have to. Rashad White, kind of the same. He could win that backfield role, but I just don't think he's that good. A little bit older. And then, oh, I skipped over Kraft. I do like Kraft. I do think he will be good. We'll see how he does coming back from that injury. But I do think this was kind of a value here if he is healthy. And then Isaiah Likely, I love the start there at tight end, actually. We've seen Likely in a Harbaugh offense. We know he likes him. I think Jackson Dart loves the close to line of scrimmage, short, intermediate routes. So I think this could actually be a steal. Got him late. Will be better than a lot of other tight ends that were drafted, I think. And then lastly, we have Jordy. I'm a little bit mad at Jordy just because he took Justin Herbert. I wanted him over Caleb, but I think they're pretty close. I think having the McDaniel offense, would have been nice, and I had the stack with Ladd, so that kind of pissed me off as he took Herbert as his second QB. But I think his start was pretty good. I like Kenneth Walker. He has injury concerns, but they should use him a lot. Puka has suspension concerns and a little bit of injury concerns, but should be a top three receiver if he's healthy all year. Javante, I think, is a super safe RB2. Should have some good touchdown equity and a good offense. Scatabo, they just brought in Najee. They have Tyrone Tracy. I don't think they're super confident in any of their running backs. Again, I have concerns with the Giants' offense. And he got injured last year and is doing backflips in preseason. They used him a lot last year, and I think they pull that back a little bit. Quinchon, you have a Browns running back. I think Dylan Sampson was hurt all of last year, so Judkins got a lot more receiving work than he will this year. It's a Brown, whatever. He might get a few touchdowns. Jaden Daniels, you could have gotten him 5 rounds later. None of us were taking him. We're all LSU people and we're pissed at him. So missed out on some value here, especially if you were going to take Herbert later. Laporta, I think, is fine as a tight end. I think Kittle will be your starter once he's full go. But using 2 of your first 9 picks on tight ends is certainly a strategy, and same with quarterbacks. I just think your depth is severely lacking, especially when you go kicker in the 10th. Whooping that ass week 1. Casey Concepcion, actually love as a late round flyer. I think he's a really talented player. I just think the quarterback situation and the offense is not going to be good as a whole. Addison is going to be Kyler's wide receiver 2, maybe 3, because they just added what's his face from the 49ers. I can't remember. Juwan Jennings. So I don't know. Late round flyer, not one I would have taken. And then Denzel Boston, another Brown. I know he's already off your team, but you taking 3 Browns, 2 quarterbacks, and 2 tight ends is not a winning recipe. And then Aaron Jones late. Him and Jordan Mason are kind of the same to me if they both stay healthy. So I guess value there. You're never going to start him. You're never going to want to start him. And then lastly, we'll go with me, the best team. Bijan. I think he was pretty obvious at 102 if you wanted to go running back. I wouldn't hate you for going for either of the 2 receivers here if you wanted to go receiver. That was just not a strategy I was planning on doing. Like I said, I really wanted Bowers and A.J. Brown at the turn here. Maybe should have taken A.J. Brown first, but I really wanted Bowers. I think he's good for a bounce back after his injury last year. And I kind of believe in Mendoza when he does come in. I think Kirk's great to start. Mendoza, I think, will rely on Bowers early. They don't have anyone else catching the ball out there. And with the Genty injury, I think that just leads to more targets. Rashee Rice, the criminal, he's really good when he plays. He's Patrick Mahomes' #1 in the offense. They are going to run the ball more, but he was like top 5 in points per game before he got hurt last year. Kind of a freak injury. Had somebody roll up on his ankle. High upside. could be a bust. But I was okay with taking that here as I went with more security later. Lad McConkey, I think this was one of my guys going into the draft. Love the white boy power. Every 5 years, a white wide receiver is the number one overall receiver. It was Cooper Kupp in 2020, or 2021, sorry. So 2026, we're going with Lad McConkey. Think we have the McDaniels offense. I think they have both their tackles back with Joe Alton Slater. I think Keenan's gone. I think he should bounce back after that year two slump. Demont, maybe a bit of a reach. I think he is a high floor player. I think he should get a lot of the rushing touchdowns for the Texans. Woody Marks had like 15 inside the 5 carries last year and didn't score a touchdown on any of them. So while Woody Marks might get some work, especially receiving, I think Demont's the lock for the touchdowns there. And then Swift, he was on my team last year. He's been a top 24 running back each of the past 3 years. Don't see much changing this year. Christian Watson, when he is healthy, has been really good. Finished the year, I think, through like the last 7 weeks or so, was a top 15 wide receiver. I like the changes that they're looking at making in the offense, a little bit more play action. And they do lose two big target earners at the receiver position. So I think he will get more than just those downfield routes, could get more design plays for him. Jonathan Brooks, two ACL injuries. He was the number one drafted running back in his draft class. So I think they believe in him. Can he stay healthy? We'll see. Will the Panthers offense be decent? We'll see. But I think he's better than Chuba and will overtake that role at some point during the year, and I don't need him week one. Caleb, like I said, I wanted Herbert for the stack, but I'm fine with Caleb. I have the Bears stack here, so should get all the touchdowns coming to the Bears offense. That's not Kyle Monangai, who's currently injured. So I love that. I do think that his completion percentage was a bit low last year. If he can bump that up a little bit, I think their offense will be better. They're already talking about how they want to break the point scoring record. I know that's stupid to say, but if they want to do that, it's great to have a quarterback on that team. Bill, had Bill for a while last year. I think he's a good player. I saw stats about how he was like the third best all-time seventh round draft pick for a running back. It's a muddy backfield. I think he should get most of the rushing touchdowns that aren't Jaden Daniels, but we'll see. This was kind of a dart throw and me just believing in my guy. Josh Downs, I already dropped him. I really liked him coming into the year with the Alec Pierce injury. I just worry with Keenan being added to the team, he'll be put in the slot a lot. And I wasn't really looking for a slot guy. Took Genty's backup just to kind of get hit that early and see if we could capitalize on that. Looking like it won't work. But I think Josh Downs should have a pretty good floor. His ceiling's probably a bit capped, especially once Pierce comes back. And if I'm not using him in the first 4 weeks, which I probably won't when there's no buys and limited injuries, we'll see. Keaton Mitchell, this is my Raheem Mostert dart throw with McDaniels. Raheem Mostert and HM were both like top 10 running backs one year. Maybe Keaton Mitchell and Hampton can do the same. Hampton got hurt last year, and I think Keaton Mitchell is carved out a role in the receiving game regardless of whether Hampton gets hurt. We'll see how much of it all gets involved if Hampton gets hurt, but I think I'll know within the first month or so whether Mitchell's worth keeping on my team. Dejon Stribling, this dude's going to eat. I'm sorry to everybody that didn't get to draft him. I'm so sorry. If you've seen him in preseason, if you saw him at Ole Miss, I mean, this dude's going to eat. The Niners are all hurt. It's literally going to be him and McCaffrey catching every single pass. So, Substation, I need you to put in work on people not named Dejon Stribling. And then Wandale, I already dropped Wandale. I actually think he was pretty good value here. I think somebody should probably pick him up off waivers if they haven't already. Could be the number one target in Tennessee where they'll be trailing a lot of games. So some value there, maybe just a low end flex, but I think with my week one rankings, maybe could have flipped Brennan and Will. I just like Brennan had 4 or 5 players that I really liked coming into the draft. Whereas Williams' team is probably more solid. And then maybe should have had Strat lower than Dylan. But I stand by everything else. Bob and Jeff can kind of be flipped. But, I like my team. I think I have a top 3 or 4 team. I think my ceiling is number one. My floor is probably 7th or 8th. But excited for the season. Excited to kick Jordy's ass week one. And We will see you guys in about 2 weeks, 13 days from today. So later, boys.